This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Abiodun Mohammed. Ukraine pleaded on Thursday for the West to finally send its heavy tanks as the defense chiefs of the United States and Germany headed for a showdown over weapons Kiev says could decide the fate of the war. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will be in Germany on Thursday and meet its new defense minister a day before they host a meeting of dozens of allies to pledge weapons for Ukraine. That meeting at the US Ramstein Air Base in Germany has been billed as a chance to provide the arms to shift the war's momentum in 2023. Top of the agenda is heavy tanks, which Kiev says it needs to fend off a new Russian onslaught and launch counter-offensives to recapture its occupied territory. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made a similar plea by video link to leaders gathered at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Wednesday, urging them to supply his country before Russia mounts its next missile and armored ground attacks. The Israeli army has shot dead 2 Palestinian men during a raid on Jenin, bringing the number of Palestinians killed by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank in January to 17. Jawad Fareed Bawaqneh, a 57-year-old father of 6 and teacher at a local school, was killed on Thursday morning in the Jenin refugee camp, local journalists told newsmen, as well as Adham Jabareen, a 28-year-old fighter with the Jenin Brigades armed resistance group. The Palestinian Ministry of Health confirmed the names and ages of the deceased men at 7 a.m. At least 4 other Palestinians were injured by live ammunition. Local journalist and resident Mujahid Al-Saadi, who spoke to witnesses, said that Bawaqneh, the teacher, was killed on the street in front of his home as he was attempting to help Jabareen after the latter had been shot. Bawaqneh's son, who was present at the scene, described the killing in a TV interview as an execution. The Palestinian Ministry of Education mourned him in a statement and said he was a teacher at a boys' high school in Jenin. The Israeli army launched a large-scale raid with more than 70 armed vehicles into the Jenin refugee camp located inside the city at 2:30 a.m. and withdrew 3.5 hours later. South Korea and Iran have summoned each other's ambassadors in a diplomatic dispute triggered by South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol describing Tehran as the enemy of the United Arab Emirates and comparable to the threat posed by North Korea. While visiting South Korean special forces stationed in Abu Dhabi on Monday, Yoon described the UAE as a brother nation of South Korea tied by growing economic and military cooperation. Yoon then compared the threat UAE supposedly faces from Iran to the threat South Korea faces from nuclear-armed North Korea. Yoon's remarks triggered a stiff response from Iran's foreign ministry, which said it was investigating Yoon's interference statement. Iran's deputy foreign minister on legal affairs, Reza Najafi, summoned the South Korean ambassador on Wednesday to protest against Yoon's remarks. Iran's official IRNA news agency said Najafi also accused Seoul of pursuing an unfriendly approach towards Iran and noted the issue of Iranian funds frozen in South Korean banks. Iran has repeatedly demanded that Seoul release some $7 billion of its funds frozen under US sanctions. On Thursday, South Korea's first vice foreign minister, Cho Yong-dong, called in Iranian ambassador Sahed Badamchi Shebastari to explain Seoul's stance. Once again, ministry spokesperson Lim Soo-suk said in a briefing. French trained drivers, teachers and refinery workers were among those who walked off their jobs on Thursday in a nationwide day of strikes against government plans to raise the retirement age by 2 years to 64. The strikes and protests expected across the country are a major test for President Emmanuel Macron, who says his pension reform plan, which opinion polls show is hugely unpopular, is vital to ensure the system does not go bust. The challenge for unions is to transform opposition to the reform and anger over a cost of living crisis into a mass social protest, which would eventually force the government to change tack. In quote, "We need a lot of people to join the protest," Laurent Berger, head of France's largest union, CFDT, told newsmen. He and other union leaders expected to announce more strikes and protests in the evening, said Thursday was just the beginning. For Macron, at stake are his reformist credentials, both at home and with his European Union peers, as well as keeping public spending in check. Pushing back the retirement age by 2 years and extending the pay-in period would bring an additional 17.7 billion euros in annual pension contributions, allowing the system to break even by 2027, according to Labour Ministry estimate. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Thursday.